am so excited now to bring on our next guest, Dr. Zina Jacque, who's Reverend Dr. Zina Jacque, who's a renowned motivational speaker and inspirational figure who has a remarkable journey. I hope that she'll share with us today and help us to feel even more empowered and to embrace our potential. Dr. Zina, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
My apologies.
No,
Blessings, Denise.
thank you, thank you, thank you. So, welcome to the show. I mean, this is a perfect time. It's Women's History Month, and we women have been under attack, uh,
Yes.
especially Black women.
Mhm.
But you've come through, or you're still coming through, and opening up doors and helping us to come in and learn. Be more empowered. Talk about
Yeah.
your journey, if you don't mind.
No, I don't. I have this story. My mom lost four children trying to have one,
Wow.
and the fifth attempt at pregnancy is me, and I have a sister, so there was another. But I think because I came when I was born and raised by this circle of amazing aunties and my dad, and they whispered in my ear, you are here on purpose. I mean, they really believed that I was born under this gift of a purpose. And I'm confident that my mom and my aunts and my circle thought that about everybody, that everybody was here on purpose and for a purpose. And so from a very small child, they filled me with the notion that there is something for you to do in the world. So I always walked in the world aware that I was necessary, that there was something for me to do to make the world a better place. And the second thing, the only other thing I want to say about that journey was, I don't know how my mother did this, but as a child, whenever we had made a mistake or blown something or misbehaved, there lived on top of the refrigerator an eraser, a
Mm.
blackboard eraser. And whatever you had done when the sin was accounted for and when the punishment was meted out and finished, you would stand in front of her and she would hand you the eraser. And here's what we were taught to do, my sister and I. You made an erasing motion and you said, I erase that I stole money from my sister's piggy bank. True
Uh-huh.
story. But I remember I'm not supposed to steal. So everything that was a mistake or a failure, you erased the act, but you held on to the lesson.
Hmm.
And so my journey is one of purpose, and my journey is one of understanding that my failures may well be my best teachers. So they don't stop my road. They don't stop my forward movement.
Yeah.
There's so many more lessons, but those two were, it just made me who I am.
I love that. I love that. Because we all are going to make mistakes, right? And
Yes.
I mean, that's part of living. But when that message was on the refrigerator, I mean, did you have to write it in? I should not steal, or I stole, and
You
then I.
had to say it. You
Okay.
stood before both of my parents and with the eraser in your hand and made the erasing motion. I erase whatever it was. I remember losing an election and I was heartbroken in high school, and I erased that I lost, but
Mm.
I remember, and then the lessons were what I had learned through that process.
Now, where did you grow up? Where were
I
you?
I grew up just outside of Chicago, in East Chicago, Indiana, but I had these Mississippi parents,
Yeah.
Aberdeen and West Point, Mississippi, and the folk wisdom that they turned into significant life lessons. And not just, as I said, there was a circle around me
Yeah.
of aunts and uncles and church and teachers, but my parents were so good at. My grandfather, when he tucked us in at the end of every night we spent with him, my mom's dad, every night you spent with Peter James, he asked you two questions. What'd you learn and who'd you help?
Mm.
The man died when I was 12, but before my 12th birthday, he instituted in me an ethic of curiosity. What'd you learn? and an ethic of service. Who did you help? So you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you have to be curious. You
Yeah.
don't have to be the one with all the answers, but you have to be willing to serve. Those were the lessons before I was, you know, of age that were poured into me. So
But
that's what made me.
do you still, I read something recently, do you still ask yourself that question
Every
before?
night I have a pillow that
Uh-huh.
says it with my granddad's name on it. That pillow's on my bed.
And you ask yourself,
I do. I
okay,
do. Because if I have a day when I was not in service, don't beat yourself up, but what was that about? Because
yeah.
there's some days when it's about me. We have to refill our own cup. But you don't want many of those. And I don't want days when I'm not learning because that means I've been closed.
Hmm. So we're what, 13 days into Women's History Month, 28 days after Black History Month.
Hmm.
These are times that when we should be doing it year round, but we do focus on ourselves, or women like ourselves. Maybe it's not
Hmm.
ourselves. We probably should be focusing on ourselves. But what does this time, this month, mean to you personally and professionally? Why is it important to
Yeah.
recognize women's contributions?
International Women's Day was created in 1911.
Hmm.
And the first Black sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, was created in 1908. I happen to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta, 1913. And so you think about that the early 1900s, that
Hmm.
women were demanding recognition, they were demanding their place. And we have come on this spiral that again women are having to demand recognition and women are having to demand their place. So I think we derive lessons from our sisters, from our elders and our ancestors, and we deploy them in a new way now. History has to be learned so we can improve it the next time around because it's coming back. And so we are in this space where we are articulating our role and our power. And there's some unique ways women operate in the world. We have wombs, and the Greek word in the that our New Testament is written in, womb and compassion are the same word.
Mm.
So when we think about the way in which we must care for life growing in us because we have wombs, that way of being in the world, that compassionate way, and there's a real definition to compassion that I love. Again, this is whenever you read the word compassion in the biblical text, it means being compelled to move, being compelled so that you can't help yourself. So we come to the way we live as women with this capacity to give life, with with this, it's not an understanding, it's a knowing, it's beyond and beneath words of compassion that shifts the way we are in relationship. And fundamentally, relationship, compassion, other is the way women walk in the world. And if you think about that, the power of inclusion is just an amazing way to structure. So there is no one outside. We bring inside the wisdom and the gifts and the presence and the being of all of God's sons and daughters. And that's everyone who draws breath.
You have something, or you founded something called Courageous Conversations. And I want to talk a little about that because, when we know, particularly the folks who are in schools, that there's something a little that's going awry with some of our young girls, right? And so I'm wondering if that's part of, the courageous conversations that you have, or how this compassion that you're talking about, how we grow into that, because I'm not sure what's happening. Everybody's like pulling their hair out. What's happening to our girls? What's happening to our girls? And I don't know how you would address that, but I do want to talk about courageous conversations.
So I'll make the link. Courageous. So from 2007 until 2021, I pastored in a community called Barrington, Illinois.
Okay.
Barrington, Illinois is a suburb of Chicago. It is 87% white. and I pastored the oldest church, Community Church of Barrington. I watched Black and brown people be invisible. There weren't many. And those who were there be invisible in that community. Two young white women, both raised in that community, Claire Nelson and Jess Green, approached me and said, "We want to start a movement. We want to start a movement that takes the blinders off and helps people see other and see and embrace other." So for 4.5 years, um, every second Wednesday of the month, we gathered people and pushed the envelope about who was left out economically, gender orientation, race, age, illness, ability. We were blessed to have the likes of Trevor Noah and Krista Tippett and Clint Smith and Isabel Wilkerson and others join us in this conversation. I've been able to interview all of those people I just named, Abby Wambach. It
Well,
was fabulous. And if anybody's interested in seeing it, if you Google courageousconversations.us,
okay.
courageousconversations.us, you can see all of the work we did over those 4.5 years. But the point was, the moment you other someone, you push them out of your screen, you lose the opportunity to learn, to grow wise, and to build strength.
Mm,
We understood that the moment you cease being curious, you are likely to be judgmental. You cannot be curious and judgmental at the same time. So if you're judgmental, you're not curious. If you're curious, you're not judgmental. So we weren't, like my grandfather, inviting that curiosity about how we could be our bests. Now, let me make the link to our young girls
yes.
today,
Uh-huh.
particularly girls of color. The notion that I need to be like the biggest influencer in the world means that I'm not being like me. The moment my image, the moment my language, the moment my dress becomes led by someone else telling me who I should be, I lose myself. You just talked to Bishop Vashti McKenzie, who said, if you know yourself, what the world tells me doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Our girls are starting with what the world tells them instead of who they are. So I link back to that circle that raised me. They whispered who I was. And that's what we've got to tell our young people, girls and boys. This is who you are. You are literally, particularly Black young children, you are literally the descendants of the oldest human beings on earth. You are literally the descendants of those who created math and created language. You are literally the descendants of artists and philosophers. And you are descendants of the wisest human beings America's ever known, because only our wisest enslaved ancestors figured out how to survive.
Mm,
We
yeah,
have to tell them who they are.
yeah, yeah,
And then I can take in other information, but my foundation is who I am, not who the world tells me I am. And that requires a courageous conversation.
yeah. Not only that, because I think, again, reading, listening, sharing, uh, like talking, all of that, I think is critical. And I don't, I think we'd rather sit back and judge than to engage and question.
Yes.
And that's how we learn. But you also have a meditation series, and it sort of fits with what Bishop McKenzie was talking about that noonday
Yeah.
hour when we just sort of take a moment. And but you are calling yours a sacred, or calling ours. I'm adopting it now.
Amen.
Called Sacred Pause. Talk about
Yes.
that briefly, if you don't mind.
I don't. And if people would go to beacons with an S .ai/Zina Jacque, you can get it all.
Okay.
Um, what I realized, so I have this gift in my life now. I have a 24-year-old niece who's finishing her master's program at the University of District of Columbia.
Oh, okay.
She
Yeah.
graduates in 9 weeks. And so I have a 24-year-old living with me. Woo! And I've gotten to watch the world through my 69-year-old eyes and her 24-year-old eyes. And what I realized is that child wakes up with her phone in her hand and she goes to sleep with her phone in her hand. And it's like, where do you pause to collect you?
Right. Right.
So the sacred means set apart for the divine. And to pause is to gently slow. That's what it means. So you gently slow to be in touch with the divine. My hope is this, that each morning or whenever people would pause and take in some wisdom for their own souls. So whether I mention the Bible or not, it is grounded in that sacred text.
Hmm.
So it's not my wisdom. And the sacred pause is because we live in a world that prizes rushing and productivity and fast pace. But you know what, Denise? Wisdom rarely arrives when we're rushing.
Mm. Mm.
It's in those quiet moments. It's in those quiet moments that we can hear our own inner thoughts and the divine can enter in. So when we pause, we reconnect to what matters. So every morning, it's less than 2 minutes. There is this sacred pause that invites some wisdom and invites a response. And God has just been so gracious. In about 8 months, we've grown to 168,000 followers,
Wow.
averaging well over 1 million views a month.
Yeah.
And the algorithm surprised us because over 94% of our comments are positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so people are finding, sometimes we step on toes gently, but we're calling people to their best selves.
I spoke to a group of uh, last Sunday and asked how many of you all recognize the time between 3:20 a.m. and 3:30 a.m., meaning some kind of way your internal clock wakes you up and you're just laying there thinking about whatever. And someone told me just yesterday, she said, that's God
Yeah. Do,
telling you it's time to worship or
do you
pray.
know where that comes from?
No, please tell me
It
because,
is so there are angels who have various watches, and that a little later than three, but right around that time is the last watch of the night.
oh, okay.
So it's as if you are being awakened at the last watch of the night to pray, to prepare your vessel to begin the day. And so if somebody finds themselves awake in those twilight hours before sunrise, it's not about an hour prayer. It's not about, a ritual. It's about God, prepare me for the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Empty me of what is not for me. Fill me with what is and order my steps. Something as simple as that.
Wow, Dr. Zina, thank you. I mean, now, I mean, for the last 7 days, it's been 4:27
Yeah,
a.m. I mean, the exact same time.
that's closer to the last watch.
Well, I appreciate that, and I really wanted, to have you on so that you could give some words of encouragement and inspiration to the women who, actually men and women, but
Yes.
especially the women that watch our program. Before we close out, any last minute, uh, you know, word that
Uh,
you want to share?
I want to share, you asked about our young women. I want to share just one word for our young women.
Sure.
So much of our world functions around what we do or how we do it. But I want to say to our young women and all of us, more than your what and more than your how is your why.
Mm,
Why are you on this earth? Why are you in the roles you're in? And again, at that website of mine, we put together a master class. It's 30 minutes,
mm,
30 minutes that helps you come up with your personal value proposition, your why. And I think when you grab hold of your why, it becomes your North Star. It becomes your guide. And I want particularly our young women not to get caught up in the what or the how, but to start with their foundation of why.
Wow. All right, Dr. Zina Jacque, thank you so much. You filled my cup today. I appreciate that. Hopefully, some others, and certainly hope to return that to you and bless you as well. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Be well.
All righty, thank you. You too.